Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Channel. I'm Darren, of course, and today I'm going to do something just a little different. You probably haven't seen this video out there, but I'm going to take a crack at comparing the Man Kitchen pepper cannon and the HexClad pepper mill, which is pretty brand new out on the market. They're competing against each other. HexClad, of course, makes some high-end cookware, and they decided they wanted to try their hand at the pepper mill and compete with the Man Kitchen pepper cannon that's all the rage right now. Both of these are kind of pricey, but we're gonna check it out, see which one works better, which one may be worth the money. I'll be right back with the Man Kitchen pepper cannon versus the HexClad pepper mill. I'll be back.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter. Sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Alright guys, like I said, we're going to check these out. These are just the boxes, believe it or not. I had already had these things out and kind of played around with them just to try them out on my own before. Alright, so here they are. Matter of fact, if you look at the boxes, it's about the same. So this is your HexClad, which is, oh, it's a good 1.5 inches, 2 inches taller than the Man Kitchen pepper cannon here. And actually, I think the HexClad may be just a little bit heavier because of that. They're both made out of either cast aluminum or steel. They're both heavy duty. They're very similar looking. The HexClad, of course, is the hexagram type shape, you know, because of that's what they're known for on their cookware. So that's where the shape of this comes from. They're both very similar as far as how they operate. So they both have a little button on top. You just push and the top pops off. That's where you load it and all that. And you just kind of make sure it lines up and then you push it back into place. Same with the Man Kitchen. Just push the little button, make sure it lines back up, push it down. That's how you fill them. Pretty easy. They both have these little reservoirs on the bottom that can catch any pepper. You can either use it while you're grinding your pepper, or you put it on after the fact so that it catches any residual pepper that may be still in the mill. So when you put it down, it'll come out and it'll be in there. So it actually makes it a little bit better to stand on as well. So this has the same thing. A little bit harder to get this one off. I think the lip's a little bit bigger, but the same thing. They both have deep reservoirs to hold any ground pepper that you may have. Like I said, the HexClad is a little bit harder to get in and out. It's tighter. It may mean it lasts longer. So just by looking at them side by side, the HexClad, you know, the shape of this with the different sides on here makes it easier to grip and hang on to and feels better in your hand. Now this has some textured slots here on the top for when you're grinding, but it's smooth on the bottom. So it may take up a little bit less space. But one of the things, of course, that we're going to test out the most is how they actually work. Which one works better? That's going to be the most important thing on this, because there is a bit of a price difference on these. The Man Kitchen is right at $199, which is on the highest end of a pepper mill I've ever seen, especially since it's not electric. It's a pretty much, but the grind mechanisms in this are supposed to be far superior than any other pepper mill on the market. So the HexClad, it's pushing right at $130, so it's you know, $70 cheaper, and it's very similar. But the thing that's going to make the most difference is the usability of it, the adjustability of it. I know that the Man Kitchen says it's got you know, 30 plus different grind sizes. I think the HexClad has about 12 or 13, but we're going to kind of test it out. And one of the things I'm going to do the finest grind compared to the right in the middle grind, and then maybe the coarsest or on the higher end of the coarse grind as well, and see just how easy they are to crank and how much pepper they produce. So we're going to do that in just a second, guys. I'll be right back. All right, guys, so here what we're going to do, I'm going to have the man kitchen over here, the HexClad over here, and like I said, they pretty much operate the same way. You take off your reservoir cup on the bottom, and then they both have the adjustability for the grinds on the bottom here. They both have like a wing nut, and what you do is you just kind of hang on to the top part, your crank, and then you adjust it either way, you know, coarse or fine. Now on the HexClad, it looks like it's got about 12 little notches here for your different grinds. I got it set to the finest right now. We're going to see if that's going to work. When I was doing some tests on the man kitchen one here, which is the same, you take off your reservoir, and then you got your adjustability right here on the bottom. Now there are no little dots on here to kind of give you a idea of what the grind is. It just has an arrow, coarse going that way, fine going that way. So you pretty much, as far as the little clicks, it's got about 30 or so clicks, and you pretty much just tightens down your little space between your grinder and the bottom here. So it just opens that up. The more it opens up, the finer or coarser the grind. So I'm going to try to crank it down as far as I can and see just how fine this will actually go. I got it down, I tried it before and I tightened it up all the way, and I think I closed it off completely, so there wasn't anything coming out. So I got it open to about 3 little tiny clicks. So we're going to see just how fine this will go. I'm going to put it on this white paper so you can kind of see it. So one of the things with this is that their marketing is that you don't need a whole lot of effort to get this to crank, and you really don't. You can see I'm not really cranking this a whole lot. And one of the things I do know is the finer that you want, the harder it is to crank, because it's really grinding this up really fine. And I'll get you close up here in just a second to see this is a really fine powder, guys. So I give it probably about 7 or 8 cranks there. Some of that's old bigger chunks there, but we're going to show you that in just a second. I'm going to do the same thing here with the HexClad. I got that set up to as fine as it will go, and then we're going to go ahead and see just how fine is with that. And this is kind of the same, you know, when it's set up to do fine, you do got to crank this a little bit, and it is a pretty fine powder there. So about 8 or 10 cranks there, the same. Let me get you up close so you can see. So these are both about as fine as they can go. And I tell you what, that's pretty fine powder. So I'm pretty impressed with that. So they're very similar. Like I said, I think the main thing with the man kitchen is it has a lot more coarseness adjustability here. So I'm going to go ahead and take that man kitchen, I'm going to turn it back all the way to the fine, and I'm going to crank it kind of another 15, get it kind of halfway, which I think that's about halfway. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to put it, since I do have some markers on there, I'm going to go ahead and it's about 5. So about the same there. So about halfway, we're going to do the same thing here. So we'll do this again, about halfway. Oop. So we're going to do this again. I got about halfway on both of these. So we're going to go ahead and turn this one. Now, as you can tell, I'm barely turning this, and there's a lot of pepper coming out. So one of the things I do know, I've used this a couple times already, is that when the coarser you go on your setting, the more pepper that will come out per turn. And that's about a medium fine grind there. We're going to do the same thing here. So this is about the same, about a medium fine. And as you can see there too, you don't need a whole lot of turning to get that to come out. So I think as far as the operation goes, they're pretty much even there. I probably did just a little bit more on the HexClad one, but as far as that same grind setup, they took about the same effort. So far, I think they're pretty even as far as operation goes, but you will have a little bit more adjustability on the man kitchen. So again, we're gonna kind of open this up to a more heavier course, bigger grind here. You see that stuff will come out of that grinder, some residual, but I set it almost to the biggest grind that it will do except for one. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm going to go all the way to the end and then come back, because like I said, this will crank all the way out where just the whole peppercorn will come out. I think this is probably right about where it wants to be. Like I said, now that's one thing too, guys. You will have some residual pepper come out if you just sit here and hit it. So that's why you have these reservoirs. So I'm going to go ahead, look at that, barely touching it, and it's cranking out a lot of pepper. Do the same thing. Same thing, you're barely touching it, just barely turning, and it cranks out a lot of pepper. And about the same grind coarseness as well. I'll get you up there, guys, just so you can see. There you have it. So there you go. I mean, it's if you're looking for a high-end pepper mill and you want a lot of different coarseness options, this Man Kitchen Pepper Cannon is probably the one you'll want. If you're just looking for a heavy-duty pepper cannon that will last you a long time, that looks cool, that has a good amount of coarseness options as well, I think the HexClad, since it is a little bit cheaper, and if you're budget conscious, it's probably going to be just fine for you guys. But both of these are, like I said, they're high-end pepper mills, so it's not something that you have to worry about breaking, and it looks pretty cool. This one is a little bit bigger. Like I said, if you look at the two together, I mean, your HexClad is a little bit bigger. It's probably a little bit heavier. But hey, if you're looking for a high-end pepper mill, both of these will fit the bill. Like I said, this one's a little bit more expensive, has a lot more adjustability to it. This one here is just as sturdy and stable, as far as I can tell. Just a little bit less adjustability, but cheaper as well. Check them out, guys. Pepper Cannon from Man Kitchen and the HexClad Pepper Mill. Check them out. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Check out the Fire and Water Cooking Edible Creations, new seasonings and sauces. And I'll see you again on the next Fire and Water Cooking video.